Reggae interviews. Word sound power.
I am here with a man who shares a major role in the growth and development of reggae music. He's got a first-hand witness of the experience of being the personal and tour manager of so many of our musical icons. You're probably watching the interview today thinking of your favourite musical icons. The chances are our very special guest today has had some interactions with them throughout the years. He has just published his new book, Reggae My Life Is. It's a great pleasure to welcome Mr. Copeland Forbes.
Oh, it's a pleasure, and I'm honored and privileged to have in the company of you, because you're somebody I've been watching, I follow from any part of the world, and I love your interviews. And I can't believe it. I'm here sitting with you in my Jamaican home, to do this wonderful interview, which I wanted to share some of these great experiences because, we're losing people along the way. I don't even know when my calling is coming, Kalling, But I'm here and I'm happy and I'm honored that you have me here.
Yes. Well, equally, I think, we want to thank you for welcoming the Reggae Interviews team into your home, which is filled with so many memorabilia, artifacts. I'm completely blown away.
Yeah, well, something. I was born the 1st of August, right? And I love to collect artifacts and historic things. As you can see here, this is just a portion of what I have collected over the years. If you go over to the Peter Tosh Museum, you see a lot of stuff that came right from here to, that I gave them on loan when they were opening up and so on. So, I'm happy that I was able to preserve these historic things over the years. As you can see, you have seen some of the stuff that people are going to be shocked that I have these things still in this original form from over 60 years.
Wow. Look, we're here to talk about your new book, Reggae My Life Is. I must start by congratulating you on creating such a fine piece of work because, over the years, there has been many books written about the subject of reggae music. In particular, there's been an emphasis on books about people like Bob Marley. But this book is totally different to any other book that I've ever seen.
Well, something. First, I must show the fans what it looks like. And here it is, I decided to do this book. And it came when I was actually prepared and ready to do it. I was celebrating my 40th anniversary in 2002, and I had artists representing the different genres of the music. Tuts was representing the 60s. I had Israel Vibration representing that group from that long time, and culture. I had Luciano representing cultural singer. I had Tony Rebel representing cultural DJ. I had Stone Love representing sound system. I had Dean Fraser as an instrumentalist representing the instrumental. At that time, he had quit the Luciano band, so he was there representing that. And then I needed a dancehall representation now, right? Because I can't leave out dancehall, because dancehall is where my whole roots started from in Jonestown. So I checked around, and my agent said to me, there's a group named Tontometra and Devante who has a song getting a lot of airplays in the United States on the Black Station. Everyone falls in love. So I had to go up to Shocking Vibes to talk to them. And one below, I ran into Clyde McKenzie, who was part of the Shocking Vibes crew along with Patrick Roberts. So he's the one I had to talk to. But every time I go there to speak to him, he's always on the phone dealing with Beenie Man stuff, getting clearance for songs and with the record company and things. So while I'm sitting there, his buddy was sitting there named Howard Mack, who's associated with the Reggae Boys, and thing. And he was sitting there, so I was giving them stories, like what I have in the book. And he said, I keep coming there every day, and he said, something? These stories are so interesting. I'm going to get a tape recorder. And we started to tape them. Got a tape recorder. Every time I go up there and Clyde is busy, I just talking about the history of the music, where it started, and some historical things, and everybody was excited. Some of the staff at Shocking Vibes gather around. So the idea of doing the book now actually started then, because by the time I get done in negotiating a deal for Tontometra and Devante for my 40th anniversary tour, then the book kick-started there with all the stuff down on tapes and a whole lot of stuff. And this was in 2002. I went along, but handling artists, touring around the world took up most of my time, because I was involved in so many artists, career. management, tour manager, tour organizer. There are times I was crossing the Atlantic twice a week. One group is in the US, and I start off that tour and I go over to UK to start Luciano, and I go back over to Gregory, and I go back to deal with I3s and so on. So, so it that's where everything started, and I'm really honored and privileged. It was a few years ago when I was inducted into the Sumfest Hall of Fame. Clyde McKenzie, who is the ghostwriter, and I write the story and he edits and so on, which is a difference, because a lot of people said to me, people are always writing stories about us and our music. When we have one of us now writing the stories and they were actually present at these things, it's such a great difference.
Yes.
And that's how people actually greet me and congratulate me, because they say one of us is writing our story, and we do have to wait for the Japanese, who knows a lot about our music, and other people who write what they hear or what they think or what somebody tell them, because I go on the internet every day and sometimes I have to be correcting people with a lot of stuff that is incorrect, and that's why I post up sometimes the pictures them, to prove what I'm saying to people all the time. So it actually started 20 years ago. It's now 22, right, in 2002, and I'm honored and privileged now that it has blossomed into something very special, because since Amazon announced it and put it out, and since we did an official launch last year, August, at Rotterdam, this is the first time a book ever launched on a platform like that, and everybody who was on stage are actually in the book, stories about them in the book, and that's why I reassembled the Slide On Bar and the Revolutionaries Band to make that presentation. So I'm happy. And I'm looking forward, because there's a lot of stuff being planned now, because we're going to do a tour named Reggae My Life Is Tour.
Wow. The book itself, I know it's available online, and I think that it's starting to come into the local sort of bookstores and things as well. And, for me, it's definitely a must read for anybody that has even got the smallest interest in reggae music, because it is just full of so many interesting stories. Your depth of knowledge really sort of amazes me at times. I mean, we got to know each other quite a few years ago through social media, and, somebody may sort of post up a comment about an artist, let's say Dennis Brown as an example. You would be able to sort of come in with such a detailed response. How do you retain all of that knowledge after all these years?
Well, something? I have to give God thanks for that. People look at me sometimes and say I have a memory like an elephant.
Right.
Okay. But I have grown from I was young, and the fact that I was exposed to public, through the Boy Scouts, where I had to make speeches and all that stuff during my, so Boy Scouts and the entertainment business kind of groomed me and to remember things. And one of the things I do, I always try to match incidents with places, people and things. So if I want to remember something, even Marsha, if Marsha going to do a show somewhere in the States, she would call me, Copeland, in 19 so-and-so, when we did that Sunsplash tour and we played in Cincinnati, what outfit did I wear? And I just close my eyes and think back, and I say, oh, the black and gold. She said, okay, because she don't want to wear about that outfit in that place. Yeah. So I gather this kind of momentum of storing memories in my brain, by remembering people, places, and things. And then, as I showed you my photographs collection, I keep photographs from all the way back. I have photographs from 1962 when I started, and all my journey. A lot of people in the business, maybe you never even know that I was a lead singer in a band in the United States named Michael Mystic. The people read about it in the book.
Okay.
Where I ended up accidentally being the lead singer for this group, and that's when I started my whole sojourn in the late 60s in the United States and meeting up with everybody, Johnny Nash, everybody, and so on. So I have to give God thanks. I think I'm special in remembering things. Not a lot of the artists who are working over the years, especially Lloyd Parks. You said to me, you remember everything about me than how I remember about me. That kind of way,
Yeah.
And Sly called me Abdul, because I used to dress like in African outfits when I'm on tour. Freddie the same way too, and so on. And Sly would always say, boy, Abdul, you have the memory, so tell me what it gone, so and so and so and so, and we were able to come up with it.
Yeah. And the book itself is being published by Downsound Publishing.
Yes, in association with Raybird's book.
Okay.
Right, because Raybirds have experience knowledge of being publishers, and Downsound is a newly formed arm of Downsound Entertainment, headed by Joe Bogdanovich. So I really opted, I could have gone to other big publishers, but I'm very authentic and I'm a very person into my country and my music, you know. And I said, if this Sunsplash owners, you know, made an offer to me, they want my book to be the first book on their newly formed company, I opted for it then and said, well, you know, this is historic thing. More so I could have gone to Jay-Z. I just opened up a publishing company so that I could have gone there. You know, everybody say, yeah, you don't get big money, but I don't just look at the money. I look at the longevity and the purpose, you know. And for me to write about our music, our artists and our country and our culture is a great honor for me. So why not, you know, keep it grounded and in the roots?
Yeah. I mean, I think in your response there, I sense a degree of patriotism there as well.
Yes, very, very. I'm a very patriotic person, because I can remember in 1982 when I was working with Peter Tosh and we were working closely with the Norbert Walters booking agency. He brought the Fat Boys to me and Run DMC and that group, that gangster guy came out of for me to work with, you know. I could have gone, you know, work with them because, I mean, big money then. But I looked at it and said, let me, you know, I want to impart my energy and my knowledge to my people and my music.
Yes.
You know, I ventured into so many different things. I just show you the plaque up there that I got from Meatloaf. You know, working with them. I could have stuck with them. It would have been big. But I am a very patriotic person. I've dedicated my entire life to my country and the music, my liberty and everything. So, you know, I feel honored that way. And my patriotism, as I said, I have 3 passports, but I will always keep the Jamaican one. Because anywhere I go in the world, anything I might show the Jamaican part, Bob Marley country. And that's basically it. Yeah.
Now, the name of the book, I think it has a little bit of a twist. There's a reason behind it. Reggae My Life Is.
Yeah. Well, I tell you something, you know. I came up with that title because I could have gone with so many titles. I came up with that title for 2 ways. Peter Tosh has a song named Reggae My Life Is, right? And if you listen to the lyrics of it, they will juke you in your eye and tell you the wickedest lie. They will make you promises that never accomplishes. You know, some of the lines. And I used to laugh when we sit in the dressing room and on the guitar singing that song. So when you say reggae, I could have said, my life is reggae. But it's too straight and come on. You have to leave people thinking. So when I said reggae my life is, now you're going to say what it is. It is so many things. You know,
it's like an open-ended question.
Yes, it's an open-ended question. So people start to wonder, so what his life is, what reggae in his life is. And then when they start to read the book, there's so many different facets. You know, I mean, like about 10 caps that I wear. You know, as I tell you, I started working out with Peter Tosh as his personal assistant, not road manager and thing. You know, the personal assistant, taking care of his clothes, I get his clothes, food ready, and everything like that. And then I moved up the ranks, which was a learning experience. I'm glad that I got it, because by the time I get to the pinnacle, I have gone through every aspect, and I knew a lot. Not know everything, because you can't know everything. I knew a lot, enough to take it from there and move it to the top.
To the top, yeah.
You know, so the title "Reggae My Life was something I came up with for those purposes. Leave the open-ended thought so people can say, what is his life in reggae? And when they start to read, they say all these things.
Yeah. I mean, you shared a very close connection with Peter Tosh, as you were just sort of outlining. You know, you started off his personal assistant. It must have been hard in those early days, though, working for, you know, some of the stars at the time.
Well, you know something? By the time I got to Peter Tosh, I had already gone through working with a lot of stars, right? My first sojourn was really when I went to Wisconsin, you know, and I joined this band, Michael Mystics, and became the lead singer with the band while I was in the States. And I came back to Jamaica, and then I parted some of the knowledge and things I learned with my group, which I started out first as the Harmony Cats, you know, and then I moved over to the Coasters, which was affiliated with the Mighty Vikings band. And then I started, you know, evolving everything from there. Now, the experiences I had then was great, because even the Mighty Diamonds, right? Tabby is my schoolmate, right? And he was a member of my Boy Scout troop, you know, at All Saints, you know. So they were the first group I actually started managing. and through them I was able to meet people like Richard Branson, at Virgin Record when I took them over in 1976 on their first tour to promote the Right Time album, and we were exposed to so many things there and people at that time, and through that kind of connection I was able to meet people like Marshall Sion from C-Cent Recording Studio in New Orleans, the Meters and all these big stuff, people who are involved, Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols, through Richard Branson, and I knew him when he was about 21, 22 before him get to the States of where he is.
Yes.
And I'll never forget when he looked at me in 1976 and said, he's going to buy an island. And I said, oh, what do you mean this man going to buy a country? Like Jamaica? How can he do that? And then later on I heard he acquired an island in the Virgin Island. Right, yes. And so on. Then the next thing I know he's going around the world in an air balloon. I said, this guy is adventurous, And when we actually met him, we had Virgin every day, because what they did, they rented a house for us. Instead of putting us in a hotel, they gave us a 6-story house and packed it with food like crazy. King Sounds and Trevor, who passed away, were there in charge of food. Every artist in the UK at that time passed through that house. Because food was there 24/7. Alton Ellis was there, Chosen Few, Bobby Aiken, everybody was there. So it was like a hub there. So knowing Richard Branson then, it was a great feat for me, to be associated, and because of my association with him, I was able to associate with other big wigs along the way. So working with Peter now was, I tell you, Sly and Robbie actually recommended me, right? Because Sly and Robbie, I formed the band Word, Sound and Power, and Peter had a personal assistant. Earl Chin at one time was his personal assistant. Earl Chin from Rock and Movie one time. And then he had another guy named Winston Harriet. Apparently Winston Harriet was messing up, not taking care of things and so on. So they wanted somebody, and then Sly and Robbie tell Herbie Miller, who was then Peter's manager, that boy, this man Copeland is the right person. He must a Boy Scout. I know him for years. He can cook. He can take care of everything. And this is good for Peter. So when they called me now, I looked at it, I said, wow, this is a challenge. Peter eat ITAL food and so on, I've never cooked ITAL food, and be associated with that kind of thing. But I took up the challenge because I love challenges, that's the only way you can progress in life, is to face challenges, and when you overcome it, you sit and smile, And I remember when I started work, that's 1977. I started working with Peter then. Then we had a gig at Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts, where Carly Simon lives. Nice place and thing. And there's a lake behind the complex, So Peter loves fishing, because he loves the water. Peter was born in October. So the bush doctor in Africa told us that Peter is associated with water, right? When we come to the African part, you're going to learn some things in me and Peter in Nigeria. So Peter went out on the lake fishing. And he was fishing, because he loves to catch fishing. Fishing, he used to wake me up 5 o'clock in the morning. Every Sunday morning, we're going to Greenwich Farm and stay down, we catch fish. And then we'll go up to his house in Stone Hill, right? And then we steam it. Him teach me how to steam fish with crackers and okra, and so on. And then we cook. See man lie down and sleep the whole day Sunday, and then him drop me home back. So I had, had this kind of knack. When him come back about 12 o'clock in the night, the man bring me a ton load of fish, and just throw them in my room. I said, boy, steam them up with me with crackers and thing, right? I didn't know how to do it then. Luckily, my mom was in New York living. I had to call my mom on the phone. I said, Mommy, tell me how to steam fish with crackers and okra. Why are you cooking those things? I say, well, I'm working with an artist named Peter Tosh, and him just eat ITAL thing. What do you mean by ITAL? I said, no salt. How can somebody eat food and do on the salt? I said, Mommy, just tell me how to go about it. And she instructed me while I set up all night, and I steam up the fish them and everything, man. Peter get up in the morning. Well, as Boy Scout, I was a very good cook. I had the master cook badge, So I know how to cook porridge. Peter loves it. Robbie sat me down, when I just got there and said, let me tell you what Peter likes now. He loves his porridge, he loves his soup, and when I go into the show at night, he likes to have his warm goat. If you can get goat milk, that. And I said, fine. So I was kind of brief then. So when I started out then, it was nerve-wracking for me because I figured I probably couldn't stand up to it, but I got into it so quick because of my expertise that besides doing cooking, taking care of his clothes, getting ready, for the shows, I started to MC the shows too, because sometimes Sterling would do it and Sly know that I'm good at that. So I said, Abdul, take the mic no, man, you know what for man, because remember Diamond Story in 76 are you? And that's when I started. If you listen to a lot of my introductions to groups over the years, it actually started then, and I was able to do that. Now, how I was able to accomplish all these things day by day, as I get into the city, I get the food ready, peel up the food, everything and so on, and then I run down to the venue, check out everything, so where Peter's room is, go to the rider, make sure they have everything that he wants. His dressing room is there, they lock the key, the door, give me the key, right, and I head back, put on the stuff then, so by the time, 2 hours before showtime, food is ready, but he doesn't eat, not a lot, he eats little, so he eats, relax, take up his box guitar, sit in the room until we're ready to go to the show. So by starting off there was a great start and a great experience which transcend into other areas of the business.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Peter Tosh was someone that you met a few years before that as part of the Wailers when they were first rehearsing on 2nd Street in Trenchtown.
Yes. Well, it's funny, I was living in Trenchtown, as you know, my history, when you read my bio, you can say I was born in Jonestown, right? And then 12 of us my mother had. And then we moved to Ghost Town. Ghost Town was a section that don't have concrete street. It's pure dust on the road, leading into the house off the main street. Bathroom was like a public bathroom. You have to stand up in line with the bathboard, to get a shower. Toilet was a pit toilet, That's why I'm singing a song. So I can't forget where me come from. The pit toilet to the bath pan the hot tire when we used to walk pan, do that thing I memorize in my brain. So moving to Trenchtown, to Ghost Town, and then afterward we moved to Trenchtown, which was a little better than Ghost Town. Cause Ghost Town, you don't have pipes inside the yard. It's public pipe outside, get the water, the bathroom outside too, and people have to get them bath pan and pull out them water and go in. Trenchtown was a little different now, so almost like Jonestown, where concrete street, 7th Street, 11th Street. So because I joined the Boy Scouts and I'm going home in the evening, I have to walk from West Road and Spanish Town Road and come up. So I come up one day and hear this music playing and thing, and I have music in my blood. I went around and when I look, I said, Neville is Bunny Wailer. But we call him Neville from Shetula Park School, because me, him, and Master Griffiths, the original techniques with Slim Smith.
You were school friends.
Yeah, we were all schoolmates right there and then, so we do each other. So I see Neville singing. I said, wait, Neville what, man? And look, it was fried. And them singing with a whole heap of people there gather around, and this guy in the middle with a guitar, which I later found out to be Joe Higgs, teaching them harmony structures and things. So I got hooked onto that, and so I said, wow. And I didn't know Peter Tosh then. I didn't know Peter Tosh, right? I didn't know Peter Tosh then. But Bunny was the hook one that I actually knew. So I became a regular attendee there, Even when Beverly Kelso joined the group, she upstairs and listening to them singing that she knows the song them inside out. And Bunny said, come sit in, and there it was, and Cherry Smith later on. But as Beverly would say, it's a pity you must get a chance to interview Beverly to get some of the real stories. She's the only one still alive, from then on, And she can tell you that the day they were going to Coxton to take the picture, and so she wasn't available. She didn't know, something like that, so she wasn't there. But that's my first sojourn with them, starting from then onwards. But when I actually got closer to them as the Wailers was in 1973, on the Catch a Fire US leg. Tour. That's where
when you were the road manager.
Yeah, yes. Right. Now, they had finished the UK leg and Bunny had quit the group, right? And people don't know the true facts. A lot of people don't know the true facts of why Bunny quit the group. You see what I mean? I found out when they came to the US, because I wasn't with them in the UK. But working with them later on, I got it straight from the horse's mouth. And there were some things that he said to me was the reason why, which I didn't even put some of them in the book because it looked bad, But he emphasized one main thing. He says, "Boy, when the tour finished, I get a financial statement from Island Records, so we owe them money. Or we can owe them and none of them work. And them owe we because of we work. Which simply means him didn't understand the term tour support. That when you're a new group, a new act, sometimes the record company pay a promoter to put you on a show. And because they were new and fresh, they didn't have really proper representation. Because I remember when they signed their contract with Island, they signed under the moniker Bob Marley and the Wailers. Right? Because they were using that name from 1967 when they went out and formed their own label, Wail and Soul M. Right? So when I read on social media, I see people talking about this, Chris Rock will break up the group and name them that become one, Bob take the front. Nothing like that. Because the proof is in the pudding. So Bonnie quit the group, and that was one of the main things, and then he said something else. They thought they wanted to use the word publicly because it could hurt his legacy. But he told me that, and that was kind of shocking to me because for him to make that statement about certain venues in the States, when you have never seen it, you've never been there, you don't know what it is. And even some of his interviews said, Chris Backward said, you have to play those venues to get known. Publicity and thing, and him saying, no, not that, because certain kind of people go at them venue there. But later on in his solo career, him play them. When I was at Peter, we had to play a venue in New York in the bottom line. Well, more than about 150 people. But it's not about the venue. It's the kind of people that come there who are influential people. Because all the rockers used to go to the bottom line and so on. You couldn't tell Bonnie for playing a 150 seat or venue. Because he said he thinks that he should be playing stadiums and so. So he quit the group. So the group, the US tour was already planned. They had to continue with it. So Joe Higgs was brought in to fill in because he's a perfect person. He taught them harmony, he knows the song, And that's when now I was taken down to meet them at Chelsea Hotel at 23rd Street in Manhattan. When they started the US tour, they did 1 week up at a place named Paul's Mall in Boston. I later went there with Toots and the Diamonds and did the same thing. Because them days you have to play one venue for a whole week, 2 shows a day. To break in, So when they come down to New York now, they were opening for Bruce Springsteen at a place named Max Kansas City. And because I was so popular in the music already, there was a journalist named G. Fitzbartley who was well-known in Jamaica, and he had migrated to the States and was connected to all the heavyweights in the States. He was the one that got me with Johnny Nash, got me on Soul Train, performing at all these big places around. So he took me down there to the hotel. I introduced me to Bob, and Bob just said to me, what month you born? And I said, August. He said, you're a born leader. And he started to me about Marcus Garvey and this and that. And he said, yeah, man, come along, man. And that's when I up on board. Lee Jaffe was there with him because he played a great role in getting them on that tour. So while we did that US tour, which was great, I saw a lot of stuff. People were seeing the Wailers in a different form. Because everybody, all those who have migrated then, you see the Wailers as a trio singing with their polka dot suits and their arm like this, and so on. Now you're seeing the Wailer as a band. Bob on guitar and vocal, Peter on guitar and vocal, Bonnie was on percussion and vocal, but now it's Joe Gibbs on percussion and vocal, and then you have Family Man and his brother and Wire. So that was the aggregation go under the name of the Wailers. Sometime Bob Marley and the Wailers, because some places you go, you see the different names and things. So, and it was on that tour that Sly and the Family Stone dumped us in Las Vegas, right? There was this myth going around and people running up their mouth that, boy, the Wailers was too hot for them. Nothing like that. How can you, an unknown group from the Caribbean, come to overpower a group where they're on number 1 in America upon the charts them? I want to thank you for letting me be myself again, dance to the music, all these hit songs, So when people are writing about Bob the Wailers was too hot for them, that's why they kicked them off. No, they thought that Wailers shouldn't be on a bill like with them because they are such a big group. When I'm doing this media worker group, and I think along the way I learned something. There's another group named the Wailers, and I'm going to show you the picture with them. I have it now. From Tacoma, Washington, some white guys. And they had that name from 1959 before our group gave themselves the name. That's why I think Coxon, who was a farm worker then, and he was traveling. I think that's the reason why their first album he put out, him didn't say the Wailers, and put the Wailing Wailers.
Right.
Because that was totally different from the Wailers. Because there was a group out named the Wailers. And, you know, when you show you the picture of it, you can see it, and people say, yes, you know, that is where it was. So, I think they probably thought it was that good. They play garage music. You know, when you see some island boys, and I used to hear them describe that our music play from back to front. And I couldn't understand what they mean by back to front and all them kind of thing. So they just get up early one morning and just gone with the bus, and when we wake up, everybody outside the hotel, no bus. And then Bob called his mother, and then there, a lot of people, Jamaicans who were in California, heard about it, and there was a guy named Gus Brown who was going to college over there. Him and a lot of people came over, you know, and talk to us and say him know some people at this club named I have the picture with the club, I will show it to you, right? That them do a lot of groups. And go to the guy and say these are great guys from Jamaica, and the man say never heard of the Wailers yet. By then now, you know, the second album Burning was released on Peter Tosh's birthday, you know, October 19th. You know, so there's 2 albums out now. So the guy decided to take a chance and put it in the club, and then when him see it, man, him just kick out the group where they did and just give 4 more nights, you know. So the tour was able to go on to California. They did some live recording. By then, no, I had to hop back to New York, because I was working in the diamond industry then, you know, right in Rockefeller Center. So I was doing this in between my job. So the same way, I doubled back to New York, and then when they finished on the West Coast, they had to go back to the UK to promote the Burning album. Joey went back home, right? So on the Burning tour now was just Peter and Bob, right? And vocals and thing. And if you listen to some of the live recording, you can see the harmonies them were missing then, you know, because sometimes Peter one person cannot carry harmony, you know, and why I couldn't sing harmony, maybe I don't say he couldn't, but he was more on the keyboards. You know, and Pam them concentrating on this thing. But when that tour went on, Peter took sick. I think he got pneumonia and things like that. I didn't go to the UK with them. They went back. And then when Peter decided that he's going to leave, Wire left too. So Peter and Wire left at the same time. Wire left to join Taj Mahal band, right? And Peter went home, you know. So Bob was just left with him and the Barrett brothers, right? So when people writing and want this thing to go out, stop educate people with the wrong information. The 2 founding members quit the group and left Bob by himself with the Barrett brothers. And at that point, with Chris' involvement, said, get some musicians and surround what you have there and continue the journey, right? As Bob Marley and the Wailers, call them contract have that. So them sometimes them go as the Wailers and sometimes them go Bob Marley. But this was more fitting now for Bob Marley and the Wailers. And then you got the I-Trees, which I think Marcel must have given you the story how that came about, you know. So that was the aggregation. A lot of people don't know that Tota Harvey that played with the Inner Circle. He was the first keyboard man that played with Bob them after Wire left, because they had to do a reunification show for Marvin Gaye, for the Jackson 5, and for the and for Stevie Wonder in Jamaica. So Tota played then, and then they got Tyrone, right, who was playing for a group named the Caribs at the Jankuna Lounge Hotel at the Sheraton Kingston Hotel, you know. And when he got the call to come and Bob wanted to talk to him, call Robbie Lynn to fit in for him, Caribs. And when him go up there and realize Bob wanted him, and him to start to work with Bob. And he has been a very faithful person to Bob from he joining that group. Because no matter who go and come, Tyrone was always there. And he played a great role. Him and the Barrett brothers played one of the greatest role in Bob's career. And that's why when I see certain things happening to especially the Barrett brothers, you know, it hurts me, because a lot of people who are talking don't know the history of their great contribution. Because many times when they're in the studio working, when everybody gone home, it's Family Man and Bob sit there, you know, and him listen back the tracks them, and sometimes just take the guitar and overdub a guitar line, percussion put here and so on. Bob would never make a move without Family Man. Let's put it that way. Family Man was him right and in everything that he does, you know, and that's why Family Man felt comfortable, you know, working with him, that when the changes came, he thought he was within the whole arrangement. When Don Taylor joined the thing, well, they weren't, you know. I don't know if Bob was aware of it or what, but I know if Bob was alive today, the Barrett brothers would be his number one people. Every step, he would be stepping with them, and Tyrone.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, that was my main association with them, the Wailers, then in 73, right, with Bob, because I never actually worked individually with Bob when he moved to the level of Bob Marley and the Wailers. So by then now, I had many other groups that I'm managing, you know, and so on. The night when the shooting, I was lucky, because me and Don Taylor was at the Sheraton Hotel talking about a upcoming show at Madison Square Garden with Burning Spear, who he was managing then too, and I had the Diamonds, right? And we were trying to work out some detail. We could use one band, but he said Spear wanted his own musician, which was Black Disciples, which had Robbie Shakespeare on bass, Toto on keyboard, China on guitar, and the horn section of Dirty Harry and all of them there, and Zoot Sims, got Scully and thing. So I said, okay, I'll use the Revolutionaries then, you know, with the Diamond. So while we were there talking, and then he said they were rehearsing for the Smile Jamaica concert. So let's go up there. And I said, let me go visit my mom, because I'm seeing her since I came back to Jamaica, you know. And she goes to bed early. So if I go to the rehearsal, by the time I finish, she's going late to go and wake her up. So let me go to my mom, and then I will meet you up at the rehearsal. And it's while at my mom, I heard on the radio that gunshots bark out at Hope Road and thing. And when I jump in a taxi and go up there, it was hell, you know. I couldn't believe what I saw. You know, and that thing has never left my memory, because went up there the night at the the show on the Sunday. I was right there on stage watching everything, and up till now a lot of people don't know. Family Man did not appear until this very day. That Smile Jamaica concert, you know, because after the shooting, nobody knew where Bob was. Right, so this myth that the CIA man said he went to the rehearsal the day after Bob and carry a pair of football boot and put something in it, and when near Bob say ouch, him realizing that all that is pure garbage. Nobody knew, not even the musicians know where Bob was, because at that time Bob was up at a place named Strawberry. Nobody knew much about Strawberry to the Chris Blackwell own place, and that's where they took him, right, to isolate him from there, and nobody knew but his close associate. Never Gary can even tell, because he was there, a picture with Neville and him and Skill up there. And I remember the day of the show, you had Richard Ace group perform first, which Lloyd Parks was a bass player in Richard Ace group. Then you have Third World, and then Bob. So after all those were finished, nobody knew if Bob was going to come. And nobody knew anything. And this myth, where they're talking about 100,000 people, that's bullshit again. I'm going to use the word bullshit. Because at that time, people were scared to come out. Which 100,000 people are going to hear some man nearly kill a man in a house? And you go on a open stage. People wouldn't be coming out there. I have pictures of it. If they had 10 or 15,000, 20,000 people, they're lucky. You see what I mean? Right? Because people were scared to even come out. The person who dropped Donald Kinsey there is a girl that work at Air Jamaica office that close to bar. She just drop off and go back her yard. She wouldn't even stay there, because nobody wanted to be there, because people said this is madness. The man then went come back and open shot, so people didn't want to come out, you know. So I stood there and nobody knew what was happening, if the show is going to happen or not. Nobody knew. And the producer for the show was a guy named Tony Lang, who works with the cultural department of the Prime Minister's office, because actually the Prime Minister's office endorsed that show. You know, I can show you a copy of the posters, right, so people can see that, you know. So then his two-way radio rang out, boom, and it was a top-name politician on the phone, right, from the ruling party at that time, right, in rule over in a jungle, where they call it, where Bob's hang out and so. And he was on the phone talking to Tony Lang, and said Bob wanted to know if any of his musicians were there. And we know Carly was there, Tyrone was there, David Madden, Glenn DeCosta, right? We didn't see nobody else. I didn't see Donald yet, until later on in the conversation. I said, yes, Donald just arrived here and so on. That was it. No Family Man. So he said, anybody there that can play bass? And Cat was there too. Cat said, yeah man, we can play the bass man like this. We can play, and when Bobby hears all them man, they're still there. He said, I'm coming.
Right, okay.
And him say him coming and him leave Strawberry. Let me tell you, in my life, I've never seen a security like that. Not even, it's when Castro come to Jamaica that I saw something close to that. Bob came down off Strawberry with about a dozen cars, 6 in front, 6 behind, with police hanging out with submachine guns, in the motorcade, So when he pull up backstage, and I'm standing at this backstage looking at me and the arrival and the crowd here saying arrive, and people start to gather more now, and every willow tree people use that for Christmas tree sometime. Every willow tree in a race course, full of people. How people will in a willow tree, I don't know. Right? And Bob stepped out of the car backstage. And then the car behind him was Rita and Judy in their nightgowns. So when he come up the stairs, Michael Manley, his wife, and his party was on the right-hand side because that Volkswagen van that Bob had was parked there to help extend the stage a little. So they were over at that side, and he went over and he hugged the Prime Minister, right? Greet his wife, and then Dudley Thompson, who was the head of the PNP, I was there too. He went over and shook Dudley's hand in a beret, in signature thing. And then he stepped to the front of the stage and said, give a little speech. And I said, boy, when I decided to do this show, it had nothing to do with politics. Nothing at all to do with politics and so on and so forth. But them tried to kill I, but through the power of the Most High, me there. So me are going to do a little one tune for him, and him look on Tyrone. Tyrone become the band leader now. Him just look on Tyrone, and Tyrone do so, and Tyrone kick off with war. Right? And the bass was passed from Tyrone to Cat to Light Pass, depending on what song. Because every song, as Bob done, him look on Tyrone again. And Tyrone just picked the songs, them, and he did 14 songs that night, which was unbelievable. The stage was packed with securities, the drummers, them, Rastafari drummers, them, and Ilian Wint, who was the MC, that little girl is in the orange dress. When you look on the picture, she, Colin Leslie's wife at the time, And that night was so much. I tell you the truth, if somebody take a paper and do so whoop on the stage, the people them alone would I eat them raw. This is how much the people was connecting, everybody stand up, especially when him showed the hand where the bullet going on and thing and so on, And everybody was with him that night. I stand on the stage and I said, boy, I picture never have a camera to take some of these pictures there to see the ecstatic look on these people's face. Like saying, boy, this man brave, this is what you're here, They come here to shoot you Friday and Sunday, you come stand up in front. That's Bob closes his eyes most of the time that he was singing. That's to show you that he must say, boy, if you take me now, because me, my life is for people, which he always talk about, So he wasn't even penetrating out there. And I'm there standing at the side, listening to say me hear anything like a bow or nothing, and so went through nice 14 songs he did. And when he come up and go backstage, back in the car, and just disappear. Nobody never see him again until 1978. Only the close one, then Neville and them who went with him. For a lot of people didn't know him went to the Bahamas first. Yeah, and then from the Bahamas to London. Yeah. So I'm privileged and lucky and honored that I actually was there to see it myself and witness it, not what people say, not what you hear people talk or not what people write, because a lot of wrong information print every day about some of these historic things. There was this talk, that if the show had political affiliation and overtone. In my opinion, now I read a lot how it came about. They said when he did the song Smile Jamaica, it's the meditations, the harmony on that song. It and Rastaman live up, it wasn't really, it was done a scratch. Then songs they did. So Smile Jamaica was what they call a concert. I understood that this was a planning between Don Taylor and members of the ruling party's second day to put on the show. But an election was called 2 weeks after the show was announced, right? And people now take them in their own head and probably figure it have something to do with that. I don't know until this very day, how that kind of thing come about. But if you look at the posters, you would probably get the inclination that it had some affiliation to the ruling party at the time, because the show was under the auspices of the cultural department of the Prime Minister's office. So people formed their own opinion then and so on. And I think that's where the reprisal, idea came up. Marcia will tell you in her interview that she felt a vibe that something was going wrong. And she faked sick and went to New York the Wednesday. She told Bob, don't do the show. She feels something going to go wrong. And she felt sick and went to New York. right? And our manager then, which was Norman Hamilton, told Bob, yes, the mom have to give up there with her and she had to come up. But she just didn't want to be there. Because she felt the whole thing, you know, so she wasn't there. People thought she knew about everything now and started asking her. It reached a point when I'm on tour now, every morning them get up and say, Sister Marcia, yeah, you know, vision last night, tell me what I ate of it, you know, that kind of way, you know, because she, which is true because I myself had experienced something under that kind of umbrella too.
I think I remember her sharing a story similar to what you've just told me about. She had almost like an inner feeling that Bob shouldn't do the show, so that's why she had that feeling, so she took away herself, you know, and Bob them did figure, say, boy, if you know something, why you never tell me, you know, and thing and so on. But you know, I was there. I mean, you've shared so many insights, not necessarily as the artist persona, but as the real human being, the real Bob Marley, the real Bunny Wailer, the real Dennis Brown. Did you ever feel any sort of sense of pressure on the responsibility that was being put on you by all these artists and musicians?
Well, you know something? Yes, at one point I thought about it, but the fact that I work better under pressure, I come up with great results when I'm under pressure. When I'm too relaxed, you know, I don't come up with it. So working under pressure was nothing to me. People used to say to me, how come you deal with an artist like Peter Tosh? Oh, arrogant and this. And when you get to know Peter is the nicest human being to sit down and talk with and reason with. I share some specific and great moments with him. Because even that trip that we took to Africa, just me and him alone, not a performance trip. He just want to connect with the motherland. You know, and we went as the courtesy of King Sonny Ade. No, Sonny Okison. We were guests of Sonny Okison, who I met in Cuba when I took Jamaica to Cuba the year before. And Peter, because he was suffering from pains in his head from the beating of the police, he wanted to go to Africa, you know, so he can meet with a bush doctor. And that experience alone, man, is something that opened my eyes. Because I myself, when we went up to Benin Mountain, you know, to meet with Sonny's father, who was going to take us to the real bush doctor, because we went to a fake one before, you know, who asked for 60,000 naira to read up Peter, you know, and so on, and tell me things. And I said, Peter, this guy don't look real. But Peter was just anxious, you know, because the first trip to Africa, you know, and so on. And we encountered so many things before that point, you know, we're going through about 8 roadblocks. And soldier them stopped when, Mr. Tosh, and then let me through about the last roadblock, about the 9th one. Man, Mr. Tosh, and give them cassette, sign autograph, and he put it through and took out empty gun and said, must come out of the car. We ended up at the police station in Lagos, which my book has that whole complete story. What went down there at the police station. So, you know, I spent a great time with Peter in Nigeria. So, you know, that experience is in the book too. Yes. So I don't have to elaborate on it and so on. But that was a learning experience that he was able to tell Peter of things that I never know. And tell me about things that he never know. Him just read your Peter when you walk inside and say, you, people think you're crazy. But you have some poison in your head that needs to come out. You should never go with a yellow woman. It's me, my thought now, you know. You should never go with a yellow woman. A destruction is going to reach you. I start nervous, Sonny. Oh, he's a yellow woman, you know, which is a white person, you know, and thing. But we learned a lot with him and the bush doctor. And he let his guard down when he came back to Jamaica. Because the man read him up. One thing the man said, I never forget it. Now, the first time I go bust it there. The man look at Peter and say, you have 2 women in your life. One is from your nationality and one is from a foreign nationality. One of them is going to take you to your grave. I'm going to give you something to wear around your waist that none of the 2 of them must see it. At the time, Peter had Marley and him had Melody come from Boston. When the man said that, you know, me just frightened now, you know. Because I said the man just don't know and just read him up, so. And there was story in the book, the thing that him gave him, and then it ended up, when you look on the Mama Africa album, which I show you in a minute, right, with the thing, it wrap around Marley's head, right? So that experience made me know how to deal with toughness. Dealing with an artist like Gregory Isaacs. People say, oh, on earth, you get Gregory performing for 1.5 hours. Well, years and years, and just the 4 songs and him come off of the stage, you know. It's a tough assignment, but I knew how to deal with it. People used to say, boy, that guitarist named China, you know, him tough to deal with him. How you deal with him? I said, everybody have different formulas and different ways. So by going through, it was tough to deal with a lot of them, but I understood them. First, you have to understand them first and see where the head is at. You know, yes. And you know how to deal with them in different ways and different things. You know, I mean, dealing with Luciano, you know, and I mean, Shakademus and Pliers, the I3s, working with the Marley wasn't an easy task for me. When she contracted me to put together that A-World tour for Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers, which was the first big tour. Nobody don't talk about them things in books and things, you know. But that's a tour that I put together. We went from 2 buses to 4 buses. Wow. You know, and the entire family on the road, and so many incidents happened there that even some of our crew get arrested in Connecticut, and the promoter went and talked, and them threw him in a jail too, you know.
I guess as we're having this reasoning, one of the things that goes through my mind is that as a boy, you were in the Boy Scouts, and I guess that a lot of the teachings and the things that you were taught then have stuck with you throughout your life, which I know you've sort of, you know, touched on within the book as well.
Yes. I have to give credit to the Boy Scouts, because they really, that's where I honed my craft. That's where I learned to be self-reliant and resourceful. That's why I learned to deal with people, you know, and that's why, you know, I was awarded I show you my Queen Scout certificate, you know. I got the Duke of Edinburgh Award Gold Standard, you know, and I started traveling from I was 14 years of age, representing Jamaica at international jamborees around the world, you know. So it helped and groomed me, you know, to fit into any era. And that enabled me, when I was appointed the official card opener of Princess Margaret when she came here representing the Queen, for Jamaica's independence celebration. I was appointed her official card opener by Colonel Efford from Buckingham Palace, who came to Jamaica. And then he just picked me to be the official card opener. There were other cards there, but he wanted me to do the royal card. You know, and when I did that, when His Majesty came here in 1966, the picture on the wall there, right? I was selected again to be the official card opener for him from the airport. So no man can tell me about Selassie from him arrive to when him leave. Me know it inside out, because I was right there in everything. Can talk about the experience, which it's not for another chapter and another book. But all of that gave me the opportunities. I did it for the Queen's mother, and the Queen, when she came here, early 66, and when the Duke of Edinburgh came to open the National Arena, I was then the official card opener. And I was preparing when President Kennedy was slated to come. And we were rehearsing and everything when on the 22nd of November, I think it was 1963, we got the news that he was shot and killed in Texas. You know, so all of those things brought me together and trained me, you know. And there are a lot of entertainers who were in scouting that you may not know, you know. The lead singer for the Jamaicans, where Tommy Cowan was part of, Owen Flats Hilton. He was a Boy Scout, right? And the lead singer for the Jamaican, Tabby Diamonds from the Mighty Diamonds, right, was a Boy Scout too, right? Lip, everybody hear about Lip, who used to run Bob Marley, the alias Lip. He was a Boy Scout in my troop too. Bagger Walker, who played bass up at Studio One, was a Boy Scout too. And there are so many others. Gitsy, who died 2 years ago, you know, Lloyd Willis, was a Boy Scout. And you wouldn't believe it, John Swaby, who operates this lighting company in Jamaica, was a Boy Scout too. We call him Polaroid, the first man we see with a Polaroid camera. So there are a lot of, you know, great people who were members of the Boy Scouts. Earl White, who was in charge of the farmer program. Julian Templar, you know, all of these people. As a matter of fact, Julian Templar, Earl White, and myself, the day before Burna Boy concert, they took us up to the stadium to relive that moment when the stadium was opening up. Princess Margaret arrived, and I had to stand with my umbrella where I was positioned and all that stuff and so on. You know, so the Boy Scout was great, a great training for me. I'm just hurt now to see that we don't have much attention where the Boy Scout is concerned, because a lot of the youths them now when they finish school and go home. I used to join 9 youth clubs, So when I finished school, I gone to youth club meeting, I gone to Boy Scout meeting, I gone to Boys Brigade meeting, Life Boy. I joined all these things where you get training and learn a lot of things to equip you for the future. You know, a couple of days ago, I got an invitation from the Boy Scout Association that they want me to be the guest speaker at the next dinner. At the next dinner that they're having at the Boy Scout headquarters, which I accepted because they said they've been reading and see a lot of things about me, and I'm a good example, you know, to the present Boy Scouts now. You know, so I'll be doing that on the 25th at the Boy Scout headquarters.
Yeah. Well, you know, once again, I really think we have to congratulate you on this fine piece of work. I mean, the book itself, alongside the actual stories from being on the road with so many people, your life story, it's got so many wonderful photographs. I mean, I'm sort of blown away by the volume of the depth of photographs that you have, which, you know, now we're in a very instant, you know, thing. If I want to take a picture now, just pull out my phone, we can do a selfie.
Yeah.
Back then, you had to have like traditional cameras. You had to go and get the photographs developed, wet processing, all of that thing, and you took the time to do all of that, which is so well documented. So we have to give thanks to you.
Yes, and I must give all of that credit to my scoutmaster, Mr. Robert Blackman. Everybody knew him as Sir B, because he takes pictures and he had a studio at his house. So as soon as we finish a parade or any incident, I would go over to his house, because Jackie Jackson, who plays with Toots, he was in my Boy Scout troop too. He was a Boy Scout, you know, the bass player Jackie from the Maters band. So he was living at the same yard. So we'd go at nights and we'd sit down inside the room and printing out pictures. You know, I have pictures all the way back from the early 60s that I keep. When you have the negative, now we are in the digital age. Sometimes I don't know how I'm going to get to print some of these pictures and all that stuff. But it was great to collect them and keep them. You haven't seen not even half of the picture collection, you know, right? That is just a few, so to speak, you know. And the book have some that people have never seen it, because if you look in the book, you know, you're going to see some with Herbie Hancock, we touring with us with Black Hero in those days, Gil Scott Evans group, where we're touring with, you know, the Rolling Stones and all this nostalgia pictures, you know, you'll see. And I really did that because I wanted to authenticate a lot of the stuff that I talk about, because I'm prepared. I know you're going to get some little challenges here and there, you know, because some people going to say, boy, that's not what I hear. I say, see the picture here to prove it, you know, and that's basically it there, you know. So because a lot of great stories are inside there that people didn't know about. But it's not just, as you say, it's not just a book where people can just read and just laugh. It's more like an encyclopedia, because it's teaching some of the young ones, right? That's why I highlight some of the wrong moves that some of the great ones made. Because if you don't talk about it, you know, then the new ones, they're going to come and make the same mistake. Yes. So I have to show some of the great mistakes that a lot of the legends made throughout, you know, their career, you know, and talk about their record deals so they can understand it. You know, that when you sign to Island, you don't really sign to Island. You sign to the production company in between Island and you, like Dennis Brown never signed to A&M. He signed to Jogi's record, and Jogi's record have a contract with A&M. Luciano never signed to Island. He signed to Exterminator, and Exterminator signed to Island. You know, so a lot of these things that artists don't know and understand. So that's why some of them will never see a royalty statement, because it's not coming to them, it's coming to the middle person. Right? And a lot of them don't know that you didn't sign to these major companies. So a lot of these things and the errors and so that a lot of them make, you know, especially when the Wailers were signing to Island Records, I talked about that. If they had professional representation, they would have done it properly through their company, Tough Gang Records, which is a registered company in Jamaica. And they should have signed Island Tough Gang Records for services of the Wailers. And so shares and everything would be already in place, that if a man leave the group, if a man die, and everything is already in order. Yes. You know, so that's why I implore that artists must look at their contracts that they're signing and make sure you have all, especially a group, because most group, the lead singer are going to leave at some point, because everybody going to say, you bud, you know, you carry the group, you know, come you see your people that tell Michael Rose that, and then finally it come to fruition, you know. So it's a thing that's going to happen, you know. So just put your house in order from Jump Street and register your songs, get the proper representation. Never make your lawyer be your manager lawyer. You know, you have your own legal representation, and you make the manager and the artist have to them separate, right? Because that's a conflict of interest.
Yeah. Well, look, once again, we really have to commend you on this really fine book, Reggae My Life Is. We're going to look forward to a follow-up part, because I know that that's going to be there, because the stories that are contained within this book are only a percentage of the things that you've seen.
Yeah.
I really want to give thanks to you for your time today, Mr. Forbes.
Well, you know something, I thank you. But people who couldn't have more time, you know, because there's so many important things that, you know, could have talked about, even the history of the Electric Boogie. That alone, because a lot of people have the wrong information. They don't know that it's 3 versions was recorded, you know. Probably you never know either, right? You think it's a remix. No. The first one was produced by Bunny Wailer with Bunny and Marsha voice in it, where Bunny said, "Take this, Kelly with the electric belly, she's moving with the electric, she sure got the boogie." When that song was done, he took it to Island. Island loved it, right? And Chris gave him an advance, right, to do an album, because, you know, they always want an album. Well, he didn't do the album, and he told me personally, saying he didn't do the album because Chris owed him money from Wailers days. 7 years later, the tune bust. When we were on Sunsplash tour, I called him personally, and I said, "Listen, the tune bust, you know." And I said it, have a dance to it. He say, "So I think your master should I do a video?" Because video now just coming in now. He said, "All right." When the tour finished, I tell him, he said, "Okay, when they come down, we go do the video." When the tour finished, my master flew into New York and went down to the village buying clothes, right, for the video. We come down to Jamaica, and she was building on Sunsplash. And we are going to Sunsplash and drive down South Road past Lenny Little White Place, and we got stuck in traffic and looked to the left. And we see some people that did the dance. And I said, "Master, see some people inside that did the dance." And I said, "Bunny Jeep inside there." And we driving at the place. Bunny wasn't there at the time. In Bridgman named Chilba, work with him, was there. So I said, "Them have rehearsed." I said, "Chilba, what's going on?" So we had to do the video, man. I said, "Don't you know make you know nothing?" So he might look for me like me drop out of space. And I said, "Oh, you mean make you know about what?" He said, "But you have nothing to do with this." I said, "Oh, you mean I have nothing?" He said, "No, you never know." I said, "Bunny do it over for himself." I said, "Bunny do it over for himself?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Why?" And me and Master look on one and like we lost. Shocked. You know. And we go down to Sumfest, do the Sunsplash. Then I call Chris and tell Chris. And Chris said, "I'm going to New York." We can meet him in New York. And we went to New York at Island. And he called a meeting in the year and our staff. Amy Wachtel was inside it too. Jerry Rappaport. And he asked them, "How much units is this song selling?" And them say, about 60 to 70,000 a week. With no promotion, you know. The record coming not doing a promotion. And he said, "Are you telling me we have a record selling that numbers with no promotion? You guys sit on your ass and do nothing?" And he was mad. And just take up the phone and call Gloria Estefan, musician, Gloria Sound Machine. And them, a set of guys call themselves the Jerks. And so, you know, have anything doing this, so no, I'm saying I'm going to send on a cassette. I'm sending on a cassette. And one year, them clap over the rhythm and put on a lot of the nowadays sound synthesizer. And then we flew down to Miami at the International Sound Studio. Master put on our lead voice. So we were going to use the Bunny Wailer part from the one that he produced to fly his voice in. But when Chris come down the studio and him hear the quality of it and realize that what Bunny did, go do a version to himself, you know, to capitalize on everything now. Master and involve him, have the courage for him tell Master, who is his bosom friend and schoolmate, and where the idea of the song came from. You know, him just go do it on his own. Because him figure say if him bust the one where him produce and write, all the monies that was given to him go have to recoup before him say I die. So if him go do one now him produce, write and arrange and do everything. So that was the second version. So when we go down, this is the third version, right? And then Chris just said no, audition some people to do that part. And we tried some of the disc jockeys in Miami, John T, Jamoose, and even another black American guy. They even try me too. Because I rehearsed the part, you know. "Take this, Kelly with the electric belly, she's moving with the electric, she sure got the boogie." Me, I rehearsed it all day, but when they call for me 3 o'clock in the morning, boy, my voice never there. And the producers come out of this, and I say, "Come here, master, I'm going to let you do something different." And I say, "You're going to do a speed rap." Just a speed rap. I say, "All right, what is it?" They grab me, say, "Kelly with the bang electric belly, she's a moving along electric." I tell her, I say, "Keep doing it over and over." And I'm running in the studio and punch and take about a dozen of that little part. Then him say, "Want some different voices on it now." So me, Master nephew who skipped Marley's father, you know, Danny. Me, Danny, and my son Colin was in the studio and he make us do "It's Electric." So we did that part, you know. Oh, wow. It's Electric. If you look on the album, you see the credits there. And in the end, you hear some Spanish word, "Dondela, Dondelo." We did all of that too. you know, just to make it a different sound. And what Chris did now was let that out on the market. And the one that Bunny Wailer did produce, it just come right down. And the one with him just fade into obscurity. So the one that people are dancing to now, Bunny Wailer has nothing to do with the production, right? The only thing is the writer of the song, which you can't take away. But every other thing else, you know, it not have nothing to do with the production. I hear that they make all a deal with Cardi B and sample our voice. You know, it's electric with them and so. And we don't know where them get that authorization from, but that's something that will be dead to legal people. But that's the history of how it is. So it's not it's not, we call it no mix, no remix. It's three different recordings. Yeah, that was out. And the one that is popular at people here and went up the chart is the one. Marcia. Yeah, the one with Marcia doing everything, you know, and produced by the Jerks, them, which is Joe Galdo and Rima and thing, you know. So, you know, things like that, you know, it's good for people to know, and that's why I really talk about it, so people can get this story right, you know, and don't think differently, you know, and so on, you know. So I thank you for having me. Peter, we can't talk in the next 3 hours. You know.
I would love to do that, but do you know what? I feel that there's so many more things that are left unspoken about today. Yeah. It's almost like we have an invitation to do this again.
Yeah, man, definitely, because there's so much great moments, right? That some of them is not even in the book, you know, so to speak, because I can't pack. As one writer said, reviewed the book, which is Andy, a guitarist that used to play Lloyd Parks, you know, in New York. He said the girl, Jenny, from the On section, I used to play at Burning Spear. She was on that tour with us in Africa. They were touring with Burning Spear at the time. And she said, boy, them stories they are all true. Even the condoms, because, you know, the Minister of Health, they called me in a meeting before I went to Africa. 130 people carried from here, you know, on this African tour. That Synergy was supposed to do, but then dropped out 2 weeks before, and everybody come and say he's the best person to take it over, you know, and so on. When the Minister of Health heard, they called me in a meeting down at Marasca Road. And they said the year that I'm going to Africa with 140 people, you know, them don't want an epidemic in Jamaica here and blah, blah, blah and thing. So them going to give us some condoms to take. Everybody laughed. Me laughed too. And them asked my address and thing, and me gone with my business. I get Sly Robbie vaccinated and everything now to head to Africa. When I go home the night, you know, same place of Wellington Road, because my master was living at the same place together. Master said to us at the gate, and she said, Copeland, are you me there wait pan? Me want to know what kind of tour this now go? Look on the veranda, me can't even see the bulb. When I look inside, boxes pile up. The Minister of Health dropped off 10,000 condoms, you know. I mean, how you explain to your other half, you're going on a tour carrying 10,000 condoms, you know, on a tour. But the minister wanted to make sure that nobody bring back anything here. Because when I defend the musicians, I say, oh, Mr. Paul, we know what musicians are like when they go in these foreign places, you know. So we don't want an epidemic here. And would you believe it? I didn't take the whole 10,000. I took 5 and leave back 5 for Bonnie Francis, a guy who is close to the promoter, what he can bring when he's coming. And within the first 4 weeks, the 5,000 done. Is that tour, Robbie Trim here, you know. Robbie Trim after that tour, you know what I mean? Because it's the first time going to Africa, and what him experienced there, him couldn't believe it. That alone is another interview by itself to give you the day by day that went down there. You know, when I time the crew them want to go home because them not getting no pay, them go to the airport and couldn't leave because you have to have an exit visa to leave. And the promoter have to find that. You know, when our road crew bust up the promoter bodyguard head. Right, Flash. Bust up the promoter bodyguard, and when I leave, send police at the airport to arrest Flash and take him off and say, I'm throwing in a jail, I'm ratting in a jail, and me have to do the battle and everything. So with all these experience and things that we know, there's a lot of stuff. You know, even the journey with Dennis Brown, A&M journey, and what really happened and things there. My Reggae Sumfest tours that I did, you know, starting from 1989 with all the artists and the experiences. There's a lot of stuff left to be talked about,
research, yes.
You know. So we have a part 2 and a part 3
Of course.
do. You know?
That sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah, definitely. Man. I love to do it because I like to share my experiences. Don't make sense to have these experiences and keep it to myself. It's not helping the industry, not helping Jamaica, and not helping the young artists them. So thanks again, and thanks for your crew who's here with you. I mean, you know, I was worried if you want to find a way, but you find a way right to my doorstep.
Absolutely.
And this is not really a living house, you know, so to speak, but I keep it from a little museum, you know, and we're going to see more things in it, you know, as we go along. So thanks for having me, and I thank you for coming. Thank you, crewman, for being here too.
Mr. Forbes, we give thanks for your open welcome, and we've enjoyed looking around at all the memorabilia as well. So we give thanks. One love.
Reggae interviews. Word sound power.